Welcome back. We're now discussing drug abuse and addiction. 26th day in the month of June is a day set aside to raise awareness on the impact of drug abuse and illicit trafficking of drugs. The theme for this year is Health for Justice, Justice for Health. Drug or substance abuse, according to the World Health Organization, is a harmful use of psychoactive substances, including alcohol and illicit drugs. This could result in dependence syndrome, a phenomenon that develops after repeated substance use and strong desire to take the drug, difficulty in controlling its use, and persisting in its use despite harmful consequences, amongst other issues. Aside from drugs like cocaine, heroin, and amphetamines abused by the elite and high net worth individuals, the most abused substance was cannabis, aka Indian hemp, taken by 10.6 million Nigerians out of 14.3 million that took drugs last year.
Ooh. 14 million in the world, and 10 of those...
14.3 in Nigeria.
In Nigeria.
10.3 cannabis, aka
Indian hemp.
Well, to help us understand all of this, we have in the studio Olusegun Osatimehin, Advocacy Coordinator, Freedom Foundation.
Good morning.
And beside him is William Wu, Project Officer, Response to Drugs and Related Organized Crime in Nigeria, UN Office of Drug and Crime.
Good morning.
And here, on my right, close to me, Nigeria's first Olympic gold medalist, Chioma Ajunwa-Opara. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Nigeria.
And we're still expecting the Assistant State Commandant of the NDLEA to join us. She's on her way. But let's start off the conversation. Let me start with you, Mr. Wu. The theme for these years' campaign, if I may use that, theme is Health for Justice, Justice for Health. Talk to us about this, and what's the UN doing about the figures we read out there in Nigeria?
Okay, thank you. Actually, June 26th is an International Day against the drug abuse and the illicit trafficking. Although it was passed, but thank you for inviting us here. And this year, as you said, that is for justice for health, health for justice, because we think that to effective response to the drug world problem requires the inclusive accountable institutions of criminal justice, health and social services to work hand in hand to provide integrated solutions in line with international drug conventions, human rights obligations, and the sustainable development goals. Actually, justice and health are the two sides of the one coin, because we think that what does this thing mean is like we are focusing 3 points. One is that people getting the treatment they needed. To give those people who need the treatment, then we mean that the health, the public health and justice department should work together, and will have provide the gender and age-sensitive response without stigma. And also for the public health response to drug abuse, we need also alternatives to punishment or imprisonment in line with the drug conventions. And also we have to connect the communities, families, and the social communities so that to provide the helps to the health, to the youth, so that the youth have this more capacity to say no to drugs. And also the third point is that we have to provide knowledge of the justice and health, because we think that this is concerning with analysis, and because we think that evidence-based analysis and researches can provide the good platform for the drug policy makers. Without the good figures, how can we know what's the prevalence of the drugs in this country? How do we deal with that?
So, Mr. Wu, the policies are there. It's just that people choose to just ignore them. There's no shortage of laws in Nigeria. There's adequate punishment if you're caught with drugs, if you're caught using drugs, if you're caught trafficking in drugs. There's adequate punishment for all that. But people still choose.
Yeah, this you have raised a good question. The law is here because for the Nigerian, I think that I have been working for a lot of countries. Nigeria is one of the countries where the laws, regulations are very intact, completed. Well, this is concerning with your concern, that is the implementation of the laws. So this is this will relating to the justice. And how the drug use disorders can be, their rights can be defended. And also, of course, and also it's also concerning with the drug prevention and education. What kind of knowledge, correct knowledge and attitudes can be disseminated to the youth? This is very important.
Let me bring in the only lady in the house, Mrs. Choma Ajunwa-Okpara. You have a foundation that deals with young people. It says it's marching forward to a drug-free Nigeria. From your experience, because the figures that Nyota read out are alarming.
Sure.
Now, from your experience, what is the reason for this spike in the number of young people doing drugs?
Thank you very much for that question. Personally, I have a foundation, and the reason for that foundation was that while I was active in sports, I fell into that problem. And it's a thing that when you do it, you may not know. Because of the nation we are, here in Nigeria, nobody tells you, oh, don't take this, don't take that, as far as you are a sports person. But outside here, if you go to the chemist to buy something, they are not going to give you what you want to buy, except you have doctor's prescription. So it becomes a very big problem here for us to run away from these drug intakes on the part of sports people. You know, because of that, I didn't want any athlete to fall into the problem I fell into while I was competing. Then I decided to have this foundation that say no to drug use and illicit drug use. Because some of the things we take, we think that it is genuine ones. You know, and don't forget that majority of the athletes didn't have the opportunity of going to school to that level that they will be able to buy something and they start reading the content and know what it contains. It's a big problem. And some of them, the youth, are now going into drugs because they don't have anything to do, because they feel that, oh, I am idle, I want to make myself to feel good because of peer pressure, you know, and they then co-opt so many of their groups into taking this by doing experiments. As we are talking here, oh, tramadol is not good, codeine is not good. You have seen another means they devise now, they use lacacera, which is a normal drink for every human being. They will use lacacera, they pour in codeine there, they pour in something, so many things, you know, they shake and they start taking, and it's a very big drug. By the time you get them tested, you see that it's more than steroid, a very big steroid. You know, all those things are the things that made me, I said, no other person can come out to tell them except myself that I had the experience. You know, I had that problem and I was banned. And if I could be banned, being the first individual and only Olympic gold medalist in Nigeria, and I was banned, any other person could be banned and they forget about him or her. So I think that is why I come out openly to tell them that, look, I'm into that problem, you don't have to fall that problem. Just listen to me, it's going to be well with you. And cutting corners does not help in anything. Instead,
Looks like your voice is not loud enough. Because they're still doing tramadol and pouring it into whatever it is you said that, you know.
Olusha, so the figures, I mean, listen to Choma now, and then the figures out there are alarming. I mean, reports say 14.3 million Nigerians of all ages. Yeah.
No, of 15.
15 to about
30.
About 30, 32. Now, why, is there a way out? How do we solve this matter?
Okay. It starts with, we need to understand why people do drugs. Okay. And then we will know some way forward.
Why do people do drugs? Choma mentioned peer pressure.
Yes. The truth is, there's no one particular reason why a person or group of people would do drug, but there are many factors. So let's look at it from one, parental skill. Now, if I come from a home where my father takes drugs,
yeah,
the stake for me to take drug is high. Yeah. Or I live...
You know, we would have to come back again to define the drugs, but go ahead.
Okay. Now, that's one reason. Now, if I need, like she said, I need to perform based on one activity or the other. Maybe I'm a sports person, in my place of work, there's more work to do, and I need to perform. Some people take drugs as a result of that. Now,
alcohol.
Or, yeah, when I say drug now, we are looking at also, we're putting alcohol.
Okay.
So when I say that, just imagine that alcohol is part of it. Okay. Now, a lot of people do drugs as a result of that. And how can you give me a skill to do the same thing without the drugs? Now, that's the question you are trying to ask me now. So we need to understand that, one, information matters. He mentioned that. We need to be educated. We need to have the right information. Because a lot of people believe that there are so many athletes that will not do drugs, and yet they got results. And there are still some who will do the same and still not get results.
Yeah.
So it now comes to a matter of your mind and what you have emotionally built yourself, psych yourself to believe in. Because so many people will take drugs and they will still not get the result, and yet someone else did the same thing, got a better result without drugs. So there's need for education. And now the education differ from age to age. Now for the teenagers of this generation, let's forget about the traditional method of scare tactics. Because the time you scare them, that's the time they want to do more. I went somewhere into a particular school to talk to them about drug use, and I mentioned a particular drug and the effects. Then one boy came to me and said, "Sir, how can I get it? Where can I get it?" Because the mention of the effect on the body, I think I want to test it. I want to see what it is. My God. So from that day, I stopped. When I go to them, I give them life skills. I give them information, but I don't mention drugs anymore. Because you never can say, out of the population you have, many of them will want to give it a try. So that's the information. Now, in intervention to drug use, there are 3 pillars we have to look at: supply reduction, harm reduction, and then demand reduction. Now, in no particular order. What is supply reduction? That is what NDLE is doing. Arrest people that are trafficking it, gets information to know wherever they are selling it in order to stop it. That's supply reduction. But now, where supply reduction has not been effective, then you need to go into demand reduction. So you go to schools, go to organizations. Part of what we are doing is demand reduction, because we are giving information out, technically, to people to have an information. Then you have the harm reduction. A lot of people are already on drugs. What do we do to help them? Now, some people, you take them for rehabilitation. Some need counseling. And some need just to reduce the intake. What is harm reduction? Harm reduction is as old as human being. Now, if you are riding bike, you are asked to use helmet, right? If you are driving, you are asked to use your seatbelt. Those are harm reduction. And to drugs, it's just to reduce the danger that the drug will cause to the individual. So these are, 3 pillars on which we can use as intervention for drug use.
Mr. Wu, there are all kinds of foundations and agencies putting out information out there about the danger of drug abuse. And yet, from what he says, some people are actually attracted to it because of the effect that they see it has. How do you explain that kind of psyche?
Okay, because as he said, just mentioned that there are many factors who result in the drug use disorders. Because, for example, like family issues, where the family background, and also social issues. There are many factors. That's why we said that we have to do a lot of research and analysis to the reasons. But why is it taking? But the problem is the treatment. And what kind of treatment we provide? Since these drug users, disorders, they are in drug, how do we help them? First of all, we have to reduce the stigma. And we have to got all the good attitude towards them.
But they don't seem to be bothered about the stigma.
They do.
They do?
Yes. I mean, I can give you an example. If we look at some of our data, for some years, we've not been hearing women about drug use, you know. Why? Because of the stigma. But the statistics now says out of every 4 drug user, 1 is a female. I mean, that is a huge figure, right? Mm-hmm. So the stigma causes a lot of people to run away from help. You go to some health facilities, the way they are related, you know, the relationship is not there. The way people relate with them, the way people talk to them like they're nobody. Like I always say to people, I will start wearing a particular shirt now that says, nice people do drugs. The truth is, for the fact that a person do drugs does not mean he's morally weak, does not mean he's a useless person. Now, nobody is born a drug user. Life happens.
Life happens. You know, the criminals, the bandits and all of that will tell you life happens. That's why I went into this. But yeah. Chioma, you mentioned peer pressure. Let's look at the role of parents in all of this.
Yeah, actually, some parents back home, I think they were not doing enough. When a parent will wake up in the morning and go to work, and he or she will be at the work till 6 p.m., 7, 8, like the bankers, and they never knew what was going on at home. I could remember one of my big boss. One day, the children came back from school with some of the fellow students, and they came with a bottle of Coke. In their house, you can imagine, a very big boss in the force. They came to the house with a bottle of Coke, not knowing that they've mixed their concoction. They gave it to the 2 of the children, and they took that, they passed out. And very close to my shop, we now heard shouting. Some people ran in, because as my boss, I have no, you know, it wasn't that easy for me to just run into the place. I thought it was kids. I was in my car going off. It was when I came back, they told me, Auntie, that shout that time I was saying, it looks as if somebody was shouting. He said it was Madame children that they were taking Igbo mixed with Coke, that they've rushed them to General Hospital. Lo and behold, it was in the hospital they were when the parents came back. You know, in that kind of situation, you can see what peer pressure can cause. And at the same time, parents not paying proper attention. Because they believe that, oh, we are a big person, our children cannot do that. You can't underestimate what these children are doing. You know, and it's good. Actually, you are at work, but it's good. Sometimes you call, even ordinary call can, you know, take them off balance on what they wanted to do at that time. And again, we need to really pay attention to our words, you know, because it has caused a lot of damages back home. Because parents these days, we are too much interested in our job other than the children which we brought out in this world. So many things were going wrong because parents are not there. The children might not know that, oh, this thing we are doing, we want to jeopardize our futures. So it is good for us to devise a means of taking care of our job, because they said, the Englishman say, a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. I think to balance the equation.
Okay, so just hold on. You pick it up from there when we come back from this short break. Okay. We'll be back shortly. Please join us again. Welcome back. We're still discussing drug abuse and solutions to illicit trafficking as well. And we have our guest in the studio. Mr. Wu, you were going to say something.
Yes, as Madam Chioma just mentioned that why this is a peer pressure in the schools. I think that now the school is playing very important role to educate the students. So that's under this sense that funded by European Union, we have this response to drugs and organized crime in Nigeria project here implemented by UNODC. And actually, under this project, we have the school-based program we call it Unplugged, and we do the TOT training of the master trainers to the teachers, so that around 11 public schools have been piloted nationwide. So we send these school teachers to go through all this kind of training on drug issues, and how to educate the students to have a correct knowledge. Because correct knowledge is very important to schools, because kids are very curious. If you just say, no, don't take drugs, of course they are rebellious, they will take it.
Wow.
So that's why we said that we give them correct information, let them choose. So, because life is full of the choices. People can choose a big TV, people can choose small TV. Mm-hmm. So let them provide them correct information on drugs. Let them choose.
Okay, so the role of the pharmaceutical companies in all of this. Now we've talked about parents, we've talked about schools, but the manufacturers or those who use some of these materials for their products, what role can they play?
Okay, in Nigeria, like I always say, coming up with rules or laws is not our problem, but implementation. The strategies are there, things are put in place. But the challenge we have is now the distribution channel. If I go to buy, I'm supposed to use probably 500 milligram of a particular medication, and I'm to use it for that month. If I buy from his shop today, I can decide to go to her shop tomorrow, and next tomorrow to yours, and upper to yours. Why? Because there is no data. In other countries, the moment I buy from him, it is locked against my name. That for the month, nobody should buy or supply this medication to me.
Yeah.
If it's going to come, I need it urgently, that means my physician must send a written letter and with some other information added to it. And it's not going directly to me, it goes directly to my physician who will give it to me. But in Nigeria, this is where we have issues. Now, the Pharmacy Council of Nigeria, they are trying
as needs to recapture.
So now, if we don't have those kind of facilities in place, then how will the Pharmacy Council of Nigeria be able to track? Because we need a database where when one person purchases, the other person will know that I cannot buy again. So those are things we need to put in place. And Pharmacy Council is working, but there are some other things that the government can, an enabling environment that the government needs to put in place so that this work can now come to fruition.
Mr. Wu, how would you score our drug abuse education? Is it adequate?
I think under our project, I think it's very adequate, because we really our project response to drugs and organized crime in Nigeria, funded by EU, is really working together with the Federal Ministry of Education. We really make the education. We really want to spread our Unplugged program among the country. But the problem is that whether the students can really receive information fully, understand it, that depends on the school teachers we have trained, and also their teaching skills. And connecting with his topics, we are talking about actually accessibility and availability of narcotic drugs, because narcotic drugs for the illicit use and scientific research. And as we said, that actually people, for example, some people who suffered pain, they need to get something, like a cancer patient in late stage. they also need some narcotic drugs to cure painkillers. So that's why under our project, EU-funded project, and we cooperate with the Federal Ministry of Health and the NAFDAC, and we developed the guidelines, national guidelines for the quantification and of the narcotic drugs and the estimation on the precursor chemicals. So actually, each year, and these two agencies, especially NAFDAC, they have to send to the INCB saying how much doses this country needs. But under such population of Nigeria, the first population in Africa, the milligram they have applied for INCB, International Board on the Drug Control, and it's only very little. It's 0.4, which is not enough. So this kind of accessibility and availability will cause a lot of illegal chain of supply. That's why we said that we set up the guidelines. We also developed the curriculum for the medical students, and so that from the medical school, the students will know how to properly prescribe the narcotic drugs for the patients who need them.
Okay. All right, Choma, this situation looks bleak, sort of. But there are people who are doing intervention programs like you are and the Freedom Foundation and all of that. So let's look at the question of treatment, curbing this. We've looked at education, we've looked at parents, we've looked at enforcing the laws, pharmaceutical companies. But let's look at those who are already in it. Treatment.
Yeah, actually, you know, what we've been saying here, we talk about students. Personally, I go into schools because it's from there, you know, we need to stop the people that will go into it. But my problem is those that are no longer in school. You know, those people outside, the grown-up people, the drivers. Because when you look at the accidents that are happening on the road, like all these trailers, you see that by the time they stuff their system with all this medication, once they get there, is either they slept or they will see something that it doesn't look clear to them as if it's little. You see a truck driver climbing on a pavement. It's off his senses. Now, when you talk about the treatment, I believe that treatment is very, very important. And at the same time, I want to tell you that to treat somebody that is into drug is very difficult. But the way you're going to treat him, you counsel him, try to be nice, show him love, you know, then you start telling him that, look, this is not good. Because I have not seen drug that can stop that person taking that drug instanta. And you need to be nice to them. You need to tell them on a quiet time that, look, these are the effects of this. Gradually showing them pictures. Gradually telling them that, look, by the time you continue to be doing this, this is the way you're going to be. Then you can take them to a remind home where, like I was saying, that you need to be nice to them. You give them good food. You give them a good vitamin for them to be changing. And in so doing, before you know it, they will be off that. Because I want to tell you, last month, there was a girl, a very young girl at Ibodo there in Lagos, Ikeja. You know, that place, they normally is where Ashawo people stay, young girls from the age of 10, 12, 15. You know, you see them smoking this Indian hemp, you will be amazed. And before you know it, sometimes openly you see them injecting themselves. But it's like this girl has seen it all. He will come under the bridge there, he will be begging, he say, I'm in the hospital, they say I should bring it, I don't have money to buy my drugs. All was lies. He's just looking for money to smoke. Now, she get tired, he started crying out. A pastor came and now took this girl. I saw this girl last month. Even the day I was doing my program, I put it in my phone so that I can show it to the student. You know, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe, because my daughter gave me the pictures, and I was like, what? Are you saying this is the girl? He said, yeah. And the girl was now eating, you know, you need to hear the accent of this girl, which drugs nearly destroy. So, I mean, showing them love, giving them good food, bring them, talk to them as somebody that is uniquely made is the best treatment, personally. You know. So in so doing, I think that is the area some of us, because all of us cannot go into doing this, doing that.
Yeah.
You know, some people will go on the area of treatment, counseling them, showing them love, put them in a better place, even take them to schools, they continue their education. I think that is what we were doing. That's why all hands has to be on deck.
Okay.
Actually, the treatment is very important, because our UNODC, we have cooperated with the Federal Ministry of Health. We developed and set up minimum standards on the treatment. And this document was approved last year by the Minister of Health. And concerning with the treatment, we have some difficulties. One is that these people, these drug use disorders, they cannot afford treatment. This is why a lot of people they are not access to the treatment. Because the treatment centers are there, treatment services are there. Because, for example, we have our project, we have supporting CSOs to provide community-based treatment service for drug users. And we have supported 7 of such community-based drop-in centers. 3 of them are targeted for women. But the problem is that, first of all, we have to let them be affordable, the treatment be affordable. Secondly is, because they are afraid of the stigma, we have to get rid of to let people understand them. These are things.
So when she mentioned a pastor coming to pick up an individual, I do know that your organization does that.
Talking about that same story.
Okay. Okay. Now, he also mentioned about the document and minimum standards for treatment. I looked at the document here. Fear of registration, no information about local treatment services, don't trust government facilities, no treatment slots available, dislike treatment regime, dislike treatment staff, local specialized services do not have inpatient treatment. Do all of these things affect how you reach out to? Because the numbers are enormous.
Okay, 2016, a research was 15 was carried out in Nigeria to know the total number of beds available for drug use disorder in the country. And you'll be amazed. We only have less than 1,500 beds in the whole country. In the whole country, as in available beds, be it private or government-run institutions. Less than 1,500. In fact, it was actually less than 1,000 beds. It was 2017 when information increased. It became less than 1,500 because a lot of people started coming up and they want to get involved. And
are there any special rehab centers for them?
There are rehab centers across the country. I belong to a coalition of NGOs working on drug addictions, or CIND, and I happen to be the Southwest Assistant Focal Person. So we have a list of rehab centers. We have about 100 and something NGOs working on drugs, and then we have about 50 rehab centers, facilities. Now, when I say rehab, I'm talking of the standard, using the gold standard of care. Now, not chill-out centers. So,
what is called a chill-out center?
Those are places you go to just over a period of time. They do maybe social therapy, and then you are out, no follow-up, nothing. And then, they go back to drugs. Because there are a series of activities that follows. The first thing is when you profile them, get them into rehab for detoxification. That's the first thing. get rid of the toxins in the body. Then you then start the therapy, the counseling, the cognitive behavioral therapy. The doctor will see them to, check other needed treatment that is required, and the rehabilitation itself, reintegration back to the family and the society. And treatment is in triangle. We have the base, which is the client that is willing and informed. Then we have the treatment facility. And then the last one, we have the recovery capital, which include the family, include the workplace, include the community. Now, in the community, there's what we call the wraparound services. What are the recovery capitals available at the community center? Not that a person has been treated, reintroduced back to the community, then stigma comes in. Then he wants to get a job. You start saying, oh, because he's got drug use disorder at some point in his life, we can't give you a job. Or you want to go for a dinner party, then they start checking your pocket because we don't want you to bring in drugs into our party. Or you want to get an apartment, somebody is telling you, oh, I don't want a drug user in my apartment. Those are these wraparound services we have to work on to make recovery better for them and them to stay sober. So we have series of activities that we have to go through with them.
Now, Mr. Wu, we don't have the advantage of the NDLEA person here this morning. I want you to talk to the illicit trafficking and about how much drugs are coming into Nigeria, where are they coming from, and which particular drugs are we talking about?
For this, to answer your question, actually, I think the NDLEA officer will be the correct.
You don't have that information.
I don't have that information. Okay. And concerning with his talking, and I can see that what we have done is that we are under our project, we train the NDLEA officers to build up the capacity on the law enforcement. For example, drug interdiction, and how to respect human rights on these drug arrestees. This also concerning with another theme, that is justice in our International Drug Day, because we think the justice for both drug takings and drug traffickers, they have human rights. They have rights. That's why we introduced the pro bono services to the lawyers, pro bono services, and to the drug treatment centers to talk to these people to defend their rights.
But Chairman, it seems like from your experience and from his as well, it looks that the problem is not with hard drugs. It seems to be tramadol and codeine and Indian hemp. Would that be a right conclusion?
Yeah, it wasn't the hard ones, because I don't think the athletes have that capacity of, assessing the hard drugs. The drugs we talk about, even the local things we use here can make an athlete to fail dope tests.
Okay, just hold your thoughts there. We'll come back and pick it up from that point. Local things that can cause an athlete to fail a dope test. Please join us again. Welcome back. We're still looking at drug abuse and illicit trafficking. Chama, you were talking about some local things that cause athletes to fail dope tests.
Yes. There are little things we undermine here, but things that athletes, if you take it, you can fail dope tests. Look at, here in Nigeria, majority of us, we eat kola nut. And that little pepper that we usually, if you are from the Igbo side, to my side, we call it osoji.
Okay.
If you mix...
The one made with groundnut.
Yeah, no. Those little
seeds.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Good. If you mix that little pepper with kola nut, it comes
alligator
out...
Pepper.
Alligator pepper. It comes, if you are being tested, it's a steroid. And many of us, we take it. Look at alabuku. Alabuku, we take it for cold.
Or headache.
Yes, or headache. Okay. Alabuku is a very high caffeine. Very, very high. And some other things, bits and pieces. we use here. We don't know that all those things are capable of ruining your career. You know, in those days, when we are going outside the country, say, have you buy alabuku? You know that place is a very cold, like when we want to travel to Russia or Kuwait, they say, buy alabuku, buy this one, buy that one. Okay, ordinary codeine. How can you now explain it that codeine is meant for sickness? Then you take it, at long run, you tested positive. I could remember the last one I had, they said they saw codeine in my system. But I didn't know when I took codeine. You know? So all these things, that's why I'm saying that athletes need to be very, very careful. And the doctors, Sports Doctors Association of Nigeria has to be functional. Because as far as I'm concerned, it looks as if they are not vocal enough. Because our athletes are still failing dope tests day in, day out. You know, and that's why I carry this crusade. And they need to support what I'm doing so that the athletes themselves will see it that, yes, this is a serious business. Like the program I did 2 days back, it was a huge success, so wonderful, just because I took my time to mobilize the youth. When you are doing such program, the association that's supposed to be concerned for that are not even saying, well done. Are not even sending somebody to represent themselves there. But I thank God I called the NADA man in Nigeria and he came to speak. You see, by the time they are seeing it, they will know that, oh, this program is a program, we need it. Even the coaches themselves ought to come. But the way and manner they are looking at it, oh, I'm not doing drugs, oh, I don't smoke this. Everybody in Nigeria takes drug.
One way or the other.
Either knowingly or unknowingly. Remember, the beer we take is part of it, but the thing is that those ones are legal. But there's a way you take it, it becomes illegal. The excess of it is bad to our health. And the after effect of it ruins the person's career. So we need to, everybody need to respond to this drug abuse, drug taking. Because drug abuse, anybody can abuse drugs.
Okay, yeah. Let me read out this mail from Taiwo J. He's writing in from Kano. Taiwo says, one of the major reasons of drug abuse is lack of parental supervision of their children. When there is attitude or behavioral change in any child, the parents should take it up and talk to the child and even take that child for clinical management tests. He's writing from Kano, he or she. NDLEA, there should be a partnership with all the drug and medical reps of pharmaceutical companies. It says drug abuse in Nigeria, particularly the North, is as a result of corruption, which gives birth to poverty. The average northern youth takes drugs for recreational purposes since there is no recreational center for activities. It says our politicians are culprits. I think one of the women in that report we mentioned earlier are culprits when it comes to drug abuse because of political gains. And he says law enforcement agencies are also guilty and that because of corruption. NDLE is in most cases doesn't employ the right personnel. Let them employ the scientists and paramedical persons. I wish the NDLE official got here in time for this conversation.
That, I think.
But let's look at the legal and human rights angle to all of this as we begin to wind down. Let me begin with Mr. Wu, the legal side of things.
Yeah, actually funded by EU, and our project support the legal aid for the drug arrestees through a network of lawyers, because whether it's drug user disorders or the drug traffickers, they have rights. So that's why we this organization called the Legal Aid Response to Drug Initiatives, we call LADI, was established 2018. And our project, we provide ongoing support to LADI to provide legal pro bono services and legal aid services to the persons arrested on drug charges in Nigeria. And now they have all this, LADI has all the members covered through the 36 states of Nigeria. And we hope that by providing the pro bono legal services to the drug arrestees, the human rights, the legal rights of these people will be defended.
Okay. I'll read this, then you respond. Isaac Abba says, it's quite unfortunate that despite the measures in place to combat drug problems, the menace is still on the increase today. The country did not have the political will to fight the drug war. You can only see big men in government reacting whenever one of their own is affected. He says, underfunding, lack of personnel welfare, stagnation of personnel on one rank, 10 to 15 years, lack of logistics, etc. is worrisome. I want to categorically say that the UNODC is the reason why the agency saddled with the responsibility of fighting drugs is still in existence in the country today. The demise of staff of the agency at the course of their duty is alarming, and the government/agency attitudes needs to be checked. The human side of all of this.
The challenge we have is, you mentioned about NDLEA. I'm not going to talk about them, but I just need to say they don't even have enough personnel to handle the work.
That's one of the things Isaac Abba said.
In the NGO world, we are still not enough. We need more hands. Behind the scene, we were discussing, and I was telling her, I can't let you go. You have to join our coalition because we need the more, the merrier. We need more hands. But you don't even need to start an NGO to play your part. All you need is you have your organization, invite competent hands to train you on sensitizations, on all you need to know about drugs in your place of work or with your children. Then you cascade it down to people around you. Now, I call it the tea bag theory. When the tea bag that is thrown into hot water, you influence your surrounding. Now, one person, when you are directly or indirectly connected to about 10,000 lives, by the time you are able to connect at least 5 of them, now imagine how the 5 will connect other 5, and then we begin to go that way. So we don't have enough hands, and UNODC has done a lot of work by training master trainers across Nigeria to do the job all around, and they are still training more. So if we have organizations, individuals, or people that comes together to support, some of the people may not even need to do the work. Give money to organizations that are doing the work. Some, they just need you to volunteer for maybe 1 hour or 2 minutes. Some, they need your old clothes to give to these people. So the job will be done properly. So the work is much, but the workers are not enough.
How do you respond to, you said you were the one that talked about giving them love.
Yes.
Showing them love.
She mentioned that.
She also, Musa Abdul Razak writes in, says, I listened with interest. He said, I'm more worried about the ones that went into drugs because of excess love. Mm-hmm. Is there something called excess love?
Maybe through their parents at home.
Too much
spoiled. Yeah, they spoiled them.
So how do you handle that?
But honestly, if somebody get into drug because you are being loved, I think it's stupidity. You know, if you are loved, shows that, you know, your parents cares about you, and that individual should have be cautious on whatever he or she is doing in order not to, you know, destroy her future and then make the parents feel so bad. You know, I don't want to believe that it's because of excess love that made that person. It's just because carelessness. You know, the parents were too careless on the upbringing of that individual.
Or the individual. Well, I don't want to see it as excess love.
Yes.
So there's a difference between love and spoiling a child. Seriously. Or carelessness. Because I've had to deal with a client who told me each time I want to discuss with my mother, all she does is take money, buy whatever you want. That's not love. You're actually pushing the child away. And then the girl decides to go and meet her friends, and then they introduce her to drugs. So, you know.
Thank you so much. This is a bleak situation, but there is hope.
There is hope.
And out to everyone out there, don't do drugs. Say no to it. And parents, please, pay attention. My son said, Daddy, I stopped. Even if it was 3 seconds, I hear what he has to say.
Yes.
Stop. Stop. You could be saving a child there. All right, thank you so much. We're speaking to Olusegun Osatime, Advocacy Coordinator, Freedom Foundation.
Thank you.
William Wu is a Project Officer, Response to Drugs and Related Organized Crime in Nigeria, UN Officer of Drug and Crime. And Chioma Ajunwa Okpara, Nigeria's first Olympic gold medalist, first and only, and founder of the Chioma Ajunwa Foundation. Thank you all for sharing your thoughts.
God bless you, my brother.
Wish you well, and we hope we've been able to add a little to your efforts. So as we'll be back in a moment. Join us again.